Today we're going to take a brief look at Rosel Bay, a picturesque fishing harbour with views across to the Normandy coast. Rosel is a medium-sized bay on the northeast corner of Jersey that wouldn't look out of place among the fishing villages of Cornwall. The name Rosel comes from the manor, whose grounds encompass a large area of the nearby countryside. The stream that runs into the bay marks the parish boundary between Trinity and St Martin's. Originally, Rosel was nothing but a small cove that offered protection from the prevailing westerly winds. The locals were both fishermen and farmers, and the sheltered beach was an ideal harbour for the fishermen and provided easy access to the Ecrihos, the reef between Jersey and France. In the first half of the 18th century, the boulevard was built on the Trinity side of the creek, and in the early part of the 19th century, the bay became something of an overflow harbour for Goree when the island's oyster fishing industry began to boom. In 1829, the Harbours Committee recommended that a pier should be built and set aside £2,000 for the project. And 14 years later, in 1845, as business continued to grow, George Noel was appointed Rosel's first harbour master. A barracks, whose seaward wall still stands on the shingle shoreline, was built in 1810 as part of the island's defences against the French, and is now accommodation in private hands. For over a century, the boulevard leading to the pier remained pretty much undeveloped. However, the post-war expansion of the island's tourist industry saw considerable change. A few fishermen's huts made way for cottages and tourist outlets, and in more recent years, as Jersey's tourist industry has declined, most of the commercial sites have now become private homes. So what will today's visitor find if they venture down to this once sleepy village? The first thing to note is that parking is free of charge but limited. In the winter months, most of the boats are craned out of the water and take up some of the boulevard's parking spaces. But by early April, the boats are back in the water, leaving about 25 spaces to be shared amongst visitors and residents. There is also some parking in the lane that leads to the harbour, and further parking is allowed on the nearby main road. But this is a popular destination with both locals and tourists, and in summer months there simply isn't enough parking. The bay faces east, so gets the sun from early morning, and its sheltered position means that it's protected from the prevailing winds, and the sea is usually relatively calm. The beach is made up of fine golden sands on the boulevard side of the bay and shingle on the St Martin's side. On high tides, the sea can come right to the top of the sea walls, and at low tide the ocean can retreat beyond the harbour's mouth. That said, you can swim at most stages of the tide, although there are no lifeguards. But be warned, the currents outside the harbour are very strong, and anyone using a lilo or inflatable beechcraft should not go beyond the pierhead. Pier jumping is discouraged by the authorities, but happens nonetheless. And if you feel you must throw yourself off the pierhead into the sea, check the water depth before you jump. And remember that tide times and heights change every day, so just because it was safe one day doesn't mean it'll be safe the next. The jetty is also often used by anglers when the tide is in, and is particularly popular with those fishing for squid on autumn evenings. As the tide recedes, the bay's rocks become exposed, and a series of abandoned structures are revealed among the reefs. These were viviers, holding tanks of shellfish that allowed a fisherman's catch to be kept alive until it was ready to go to market, and are pretty much unique to this bay. The reefs within this bay are an ideal playground for adventurous children, with pools to explore and rocks to clamber over, all within sight of Mum and Dad. The beach within the harbour is perfect for building sandcastles and lazing about. And being a semi-working harbour, in the summer months there is usually a steady stream of fishing and leisure craft coming and going for interested observers. If you're feeling peckish, the Hungry Man is both catering outlet and island institution. As for the food, all you need to know is that the locals come here all year round and in all weathers. The kiosk provides a variety of hot and cold food and drink, as well as ice creams. And there are picnic tables right alongside the harbour wall if you want a sit-down meal. As for facilities, there are public toilets on the pier, and the freshwater shower by the slip allows beach users to wash away any sand and salt before they head home. Literally a stone's throw from the beach, the Rosel pub and dining can be found. This is very much an old-style local that offers inside dining and also a beer garden, and even has a small car park to the rear of the inn. Away from the beach, there are several secluded lanes for walkers or cyclists to explore, either along the gentle incline of a tree-lined valley or up a hill to the top of the headland, with, on a clear day, panoramic views along the whole of the Normandy coast and across to the Écrins. So, to sum up, Rosel Bay has almost everything a beachgoer could want. It's beautiful, it's got a nice sandy beach, but also rocky areas to explore, and you can swim at most stages of the tide. There is food and drink on hand, and modern clean toilets. The only negative is the limited amount of parking, but that won't matter if you're walking or cycling, and if you're travelling by bus, you'll be dropped off only a few yards from the beach. A family could easily spend a whole day down at Rosel, watching the constantly changing view as the tide comes in and out. I hope you've found this interesting and informative. If so, click the like button and subscribe to see more of our Jersey related videos. I'm Richard, and this is brought to you by Jersey, a Guide.